Hey, sexy monkeys, welcome back to Sky Gene Experience. Today is Thursday, which means it's a top 10 pick. And today, I'm going to do vampires. Yes, I fucking love vampires.
Nothing like a little head, eh, Padre?
If I had to choose between vampires, werewolves, zombies, mummies, all that shit, vampire, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Alright, guys, so Morbius is coming out this Friday on the 1st, so I'm going to do a little top 10 vampires. Listen, guys, I am not ranking all the vampires. This is not that. This is the top 10 of what I like to enjoy. Trust me, there's a lot of movies out there that are not on this list, but I'm not ranking all the vampires. This is just my top 10 enjoyable vampires. Alright, guys, so if you really think about it, there's a lot of vampire movies out there. A lot. So to get down to 10 was really fucking tough. And I'm leaving out a lot of classic vampire movies. Down the road, I'm going to go through all the vampires and rank them, but right now it's just a 10 I enjoy. Alright, guys, I'm just going to jump right into it. Remember, these are just the top 10 vampire movies I enjoy. If someone's like, hey, Ben, you're going to an island for a whole year, you get 10 vampire movies to bring with you, what 10 movies are you going to bring? Go! Alright, so I'm going to start with 10th place. Coming in at 10th place with a Sky Gene score of a 5 out of 10. Yes, this movie is just okay. It is Dracula 2000. Remember, guys, I'm not ranking the vampires. It's just what I enjoy. That's why it's still a shitty score of 5 out of 10. But I enjoy this movie. I don't know why it is. I keep coming back to Dracula 2000. I think it's mainly because of the first act. How it starts out with a robbery. And they end up, getting to Dracula. And it's Van Helsing that is hiding Dracula the whole time. I really enjoy that. I really thought the cinematography was really nice too. It didn't look like a bad, camera. And the actors in it, I enjoy the casting and the crew. They did a great job with the set designs, especially with the coffin of where Dracula was. I enjoy that. This movie was really good in the first act and some part of the second act, but once Gerard Butler became Dracula and they started doing more of that, that's when it went downhill. It was really cool how they bring the fact of Dracula and Jesus being like butt buddies. That was kind of cool. It makes sense with the church and shit. And then you have like a rock and roll vibe, So it's not bad, but I keep coming back to it. But it's always about midpoints when I just kind of see you later. All right, sexy monkeys, coming in 9th place. It is your Night Flyer, Stephen King novel.
Why do all the weird ones have to fly at night?
I watched this movie so much as a fucking kid where now it's like hard as hell to find. The only way I watch is on YouTube. They have a couple links to it, and I just watch it that way. It's so hard to find this motherfucker on DVD. No way it's on Blu-ray. There's no way. If there is, send it to me. I want it. Fuck. So people out there that don't know the story of the Night Flyer, it is a Stephen King adaptation, and it's pretty much about a vampire that goes around in a small airplane from small airports to small airports, and he kills people and gets away with it. And you have this reporter that's like trying to catch up to him. And I just enjoy this movie. It's so different. Way different than any other fucking vampire movie. But the first thing that comes to mind is the music when I hear is is scary as fuck. The vampire, he is hella scary. The tone, the atmosphere is such a Stephen King vibe, and it's perfect for a vampire. It's kind of slow in the middle when it comes more of like detective shit, but at the very end, it's just like a lot of killing. Oh, and when you see his face, that's a face I'll never forget. Alright, sexy monkeys, coming in at 8th place with a Sky Gene score of a 6.5 out of 10. It is Dracula Untold. I really, really enjoy this movie. It should be ranked higher in my opinion, but it's not. There's a lot of moments that deserve it to be ranked low, but I really enjoy this fucking movie. Why it's one of my great favorite movies is because they go back to the origins of, Vlad the Impaler, and they bring up that story, in the start of Dracula, and then you have this fucking cave where Charles Dance as the master vampire. Charles Dance is such a fucking great vampire. It's kind of like one of those movies where it's like a deal with the devil. Luke Evans, I thought he was a great fucking Dracula. I would absolutely love to see him as a Dracula in the modern times. I'm 100% game for that shit. Why this movie has some spots in it I did not like was the CGI sometimes was just over the top. Like, this movie has a $70 million budget. We do not need a $70 million vampire movie. It's the concept is already there, guys, but the CGI was way over the top. That's what killed this movie. But a lot of it was dope as fuck, especially when he was learning to be the vampire. Great. Love that shit. Lastly, in my opinion, if this movie just had no CGI in it, the scenes with no CGI, it looks fucking amazing. Especially the opening scene where Luke Evans is with his mates in the water and they find the helmet and they're looking up and they talk about the mountain. That whole scene, it looks so beautiful, man. Alright guys, coming in at 7th place, it is your Fright Night remake. Yes, the remake is not that bad, guys. I score this a 6.5 out of 10. It's enjoyable. I just watched it again from start to finish. Not that bad. You have a few CGI moments where you're like, yeah, but funny as fuck.
See that? Like a great date. You get me drunk, I'll try anything.
It makes sense that they're in Vegas. You're up all night and you sleep during the day, so a vampire can just lay low perfectly. Makes fucking sense, but it's not a Vegas movie. They're on the outskirts of Vegas, so thank you, because I didn't want like a Leprechaun 3 shit.
Nope.
The mom and son chemistry, perfect. Anton Yelchin, God, he sucks that he passed away. He is such a great actor. And his girlfriend, Iman Potts, she's also on Need for Speed. She is so good. Such a great actress. And you also get your nice cameo from the very first Fright Night, Chris Sarandon. So, it is nice that you get that, passing of the torch to Colin Farrell. Colin Farrell, he did a great job. Colin Farrell, he is a great fucking actor, and he did a good job. It's not that bad at all. Evil Ed, God, he fucking cracked me up like 10 times in this movie.
He kills, he feeds, and he doesn't stop until everybody around him is dead. And I seriously am so angry you think I read Twilight.
It's just so hard to come close to the original Fright Night, because the Fright Night original, it's so high up there on my list. Alright guys, coming in at 6th place, also with a Sky Gene score of a 6.5 out of 10. It is 30 Days of Night. This movie is one of those movies where it's like, once I heard the idea, it's like, why didn't I think of it? Literally, the story goes, a town in Alaska, they're shut down for 30 days and they have no sunlight, which really does happen. So the vampires have 30 days to do whatever the fuck they want to do to a town. So this is one of the first times where you have a town that knows what's going on. I wouldn't say town, I'll say a community, village. They know what is going on and they're trying to survive for 30 days. And the vampires are dope as fuck, scary as fuck. There's scenes where they come out of the shadows, grab someone, pull them back in the shadows. Oh, it's so fast, and the creepy noise they do and their teeth they have. I love that shit. We needed that because up to this point was a lot of Twilight bullshit. Twilight, go ahead. I respect you all, but not in my house. Ben Foster in this, he's like kind of the human puppet for the vampires. He has such a great performance. It's so fucking creepy when he's like standing in the cell, just kind of like a statue. If you watch The Crazies, identical. And there's this one scene where the vampire jumps in the house, grabs the wife, and then jumps back out and like steals the wife. Like, what the fuck? Who does that? A vampire does. Alright guys, coming in at 5th place with a 7 out of 10 Sky Gene score, it is your Interview with the Vampire. Well, the first thing I think of is the casting. Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, Antonio Banderas, got a little Kristen Dunst, you got Christian Slater. Dude, awesome. But Brad Pitt, he fucking killed it. Brad Pitt killed it like always. And it goes from time period, like it jumps through like 5 different time periods. I love when the movie does that. There really hasn't been a vampire movie since that time where you jump all these different time periods, and it was the way it was shot. It was really artsy, beautiful, feng shui. I remember the cover of this movie always stuck in my head. Because it took me a while to see this movie for some reason, but when I always remember that cover with Tom Cruise, just fucking sticks to my head. Alright guys, coming in at 4th place with a 7 out of 10 Sky Gene score, it is your John Carpenter's Vampires. Fuck, I love this movie. I absolutely love the Western vibe in this shit. The Wild Wild West vibe, you know? And then the music. You have your John Carpenter's music. It has like a rock and roll. Oh, such a classic music. I love this shit. It really felt real. Like, if vampires really happen in New Mexico right now, this is what it will look like. And the best part is about how these hunters, the vampire hunters, they're pretty much paid mercenaries from the church to kill all the vampires so no one knows about it. I love the shit out of that. I really enjoy the speeches in this movie, especially by the father. They talk about the origins of the vampires. It's one of the best, if not the best, of all vampire movies, explaining the origins. They do it twice, and it was awesome. Your villain vampire, definitely a top 5 all-time vampire villain. Valak, hands down, scary as fuck, dude. I love how they just keep it simple. Like, pretty much it's the fangs and the sounds. That's about it. And that's what I love about vampires. I hate the over-the-top shit. And of course, you have your dark fucking humor. I love my dark humor, and you get it all in this.
Nothing like a little head, eh, Padre?
Alright guys, coming in at 3rd place with a Sky Gene score of an 8 out of 10. It is your Wesley Snipes Blade. So this movie came out when I was 8 years old, and I swear I want to be fucking Blade so fucking bad. I love this shit. And how he just whoops ass. Seriously, he kicked some ass in this. Dope as fucking, dude. I love it. Love it. And it was nice because the producers, they were like, yo, we want to stay away from this gothic vampire vibe, which is fine. I have no problem with it. But they just want to go something else. And that's where you get this like kick-ass rock and roll Marvel movie. It's funny where Marvel is now. Yeah, seriously, like this movie is dark as fuck. I love that shit. When I think of nightclub scenes, I always compare it to this nightclub. Like when I saw that John Wick nightclub scene in the first one, first thing I do is I compare it to this one. Every nightclub scene I compare it to this. Your villain, Deacon Frost, he is probably the greatest, if not one of the greatest vampire villains of all vampires. Yes. And the vampires in this, you know, you have your eyes, the teeth, and the sound. Perfect. Just like the John Carpenter's vampires, they got that just perfectly right. And your humor is just as dark as John Carpenter's is. These two are almost set, man. They're just the same, like atmosphere, tone, rhythm, sound, music. Great. All right, guys, coming in at 2nd place with a Sky Gene score of an 8.5. It is your 1985 Tom Holland's Fright Night.
He's a vampire. Uh-oh. I saw him in that room last night, and he had fangs, and he bit her on the neck.
For heaven's sake, come on.
What are you talking about? Wait, look, you can't.
Man, this movie, I swear, when I think of a vampire movie, this comes to my mind almost every single time. It has all your classic elements of a vampire movie. That's hands down has the most of it, and they do it perfectly. So you gotta think about this, guys. This came out in 1985. Up to this point, Christopher Lee, his vampires were in 1958, 66, 68, 70, 70, 72, 73. Then you got Salem's Lot, which came out in 1979. And so the vampires from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and early 80s, they just were all pretty much Christopher Lee. So when it came to 85, you get something that you haven't got really before. And they put $10 million on this budget. So you had just a great amount of money to really do something good. And they did great. It's that whole subgenre where I think my neighbor is a blank. You know, and they play this perfectly. It's kind of like the boy who cries wolf. Tom Holland, he does that with Chucky, you know, Child's Play, the first movie. Same thing. In this movie, you got a lot of eye candy, sexy looks. Oh, some boobs. And they play it perfectly. You know, they're not just throwing it out like a Friday the 13th. They do it perfectly well. Really, the casting, it's all around great in this movie. The young blood casting, the three main, great. And then the main vampire and his boy toy, those two are solid as fuck, dude. And Peter Vincent, you know, that's named after Peter Cushing and Vincent Price. So it's a great homage to those guys to make it a classic vampire movie. I enjoy this movie very, very much. Alright guys, coming in at first place with a Sky Gene score of a 9 out of 10 is yours, 1987, The Lost Boys. Remember guys, this is not a ranking of all the vampire movies. This is just my top 10 right now I enjoy the most. Remember that, okay? So right now, this is my number one with a 9 out of 10, The Lost Boys. I mean, seriously, this movie is so fucking amazing. Is that coming of age, you know, teenage life with the rock and roll, and then the vampires are perfect, man, because they're young also. So everybody is young. It's not like old vampires, young cast, or young vampires and old cast. It's young pretty much all the way through. At least the main people. Then you have the parents, of course. It's such an 80s movie too, with the hair, the music, the fashion, and everyone loves the 80s. I fucking love the 80s. I was not born in the 80s, but I respect the 80s very much, and this is your 80s movie. Love it. Kiefer Sutherland, he is such an iconic person where this started all. This is Kiefer Sutherland's main thing. He did Stand By Me before this, but this is what really skyrocketed him up. Such a young guy in this. If I have 10 vampires where I want to have in my corner, Kiefer Sutherland's vampire, hands down, is in that top 10. Hands down, he's in it. What makes this movie so iconic is the comedy horror mix with the young kids. You know, the comedy in this, fucking, they nailed it. At first, they weren't sure how to do it, but Joel Schumacher, the director, figured it out. He figured it out. Lastly, though, this movie was so good in such its own way, it broke the genre to the point where horror and comedy can live together in the same genre. And this is what you get. Thank you, Joel Schumacher, baby. Alright guys, thank you for listening to my top 10. This is just a quick top 10 that I enjoy of my vampires. And the reason why I was giving this out now, because tomorrow, Morbius, yes, a vampire movie, comes out. And I'm wondering where this is going to slide into my top 10. Down the road, I'm going to go through all the vampires. Again, the 1931 classic Dracula. You got your 1922 Nosferatu, which this 100th year birthday is this May. You got Bram Stoker, 1992 Dracula. You got your Christopher Lee Draculas and all the Draculas in between that shit. So I got a lot of work to do. So I'm going to get going, guys. Again, thank you. Comment down below, what is your guys' favorite vampire movie and why? Let me know, guys. Thank you for listening. All right, guys. I will see you guys later. Remember, if If you go to jail, don't drop the soap.